everyone, welcome back to the part 25 of our RAG-powered AI application tutorial series, where we are trying to understand how we can integrate the time series database to just help monitoring any of our service and ask any kind of question of whatever insight we want to take out from our time series database. So far, we have not only understand how we can set up an InfluxDB, how we can load the data, how we can extract the data, how we can format the data which can be fed to the large language model in the previous two parts. Other thing which we have built so far is whenever user is going to ask a question in a natural language or a plain English, then how, our logic is going to convert that query or that user question into the Flux query, which is going to extract the data and then format a data which can be used to contextualize our prompt for the large language model. If you haven't watched my previous two videos, I would highly recommend you to watch that because we are going to use those two Python files. One of them is time series handler, which actually converts a natural language question to the influx query. And then the another Python program, which is InfluxDB_executor.py, which actually, format our data, right? And this is what we have built in our previous. So this is the time series handler data Python code looks like. And this is our InfluxDB executor, which actually, create the format based on the data which we get from the InfluxDB. So we have already understand that. So in today's video, and you can find the link for both the videos in the description and also on your right top of your screen. So how we can integrate that now into our existing application where we have an integration for other data sources as well. Since there is no need for us to ingest that data into the vector DB, which I have already explained in my other video where I mentioned that the approach we have taken for integrating InfluxDB is very different than what we have done for the other data sources, right? If you just see the flow which I have highlighted here, it's pretty much same like whenever the user is going to ask the question, right? At that point of time, the very first thing which we have to do, we have to check whether that question is actually requesting for any kind of time series data or not. Once we establish that, then we have to create a query. Sorry. Once we have that query built, then we have to extract the data and format the data as well. Once the data is formatted, then we have to just contextualize our prompt so that we can raise the request to the LLM and then we can get the answer. So basically, most of the code we have already done. The changes which we need to make is in this service folder. This is our repository in which we have been building our code, which is our refactor code base, and you can just get the same thing on the GitHub as well. I will just provide the link into the description below. So you can just go there and you can just get the data. This is the application and you can just get all the code from here, right? So what we need these two files, which is InfluxDB executor and the time series handler, and we have to copy into the service folder of our refactor code base, which I have already done. Right? The only change which we need to make is in a time series handler, we have to just change the import where because earlier we have both the files in the InfluxDB setup, but now we have moved this into the service and our main app actually resides of just one folder up from the service. So that's the reason we have to prefix the service here. Right? So that's the only change which we need to make in these two files, and we have to just copy into the service folder. The other changes which we need to make to have this integration working is _query and the query engine, because query engine is the one where we have all the functions which actually answer our questions. So the main changes which we have to do, the very first thing is we have to import this time series handler where we have these two functions which actually gives us is AIOps time series query, and then it handle a time series query where it actually gave us the formatted data based on the query, right? So, okay, so what next? The other changes which we need to make here is, here we have to add a if clause. So in if, we are just calling this function which actually gives the question which user is asking is actually applicable or eligible for the time series data or not. If it is, Then it is going to follow the same thing, convert that natural that question into the Flux query, extract data, format data, and just give it back to us. And then when we are creating a prompt, at that point of time, we are going to send that to our prompt. Now we have to change our existing, prompt, and we have to add these two lines. But this prompt can be designed in a more intelligent way, but I just keep it as simple as possible. So what I have done, if context is time series data, summarize the key findings relevant to the question. So basically whatever data we are going to feed in, we are asking large language models, can you just summarize the findings of that? And if it is not, then if it is general, then if context indicates an error in retrieving data, explain that to the user. So it's actually, these are the two lines which is you have to make in your prompt, whatever we have done for the other data sources. And rest, everything looks same as is, right? If I haven't made any mistake, then this should work without any issue. Okay, so I have already run that. So the command is python main.app. And if I just come here and if I just run this, this is our application. And what you have to do is, since there is no ingestion because we are already feeding our data. So this is what the data looks like in last 1 hour, right? And this is what our application is. So we can directly ask the question. So what question we can ask? We already have that question in our time series handler. So we can quickly copy that question and we can ask here and see how large language model is going to help us to get the response. So what we are asking, what was the latency, API latency for payment service in last 5 minutes? So let's quickly run this and see what we're gonna get. Okay, so we can come here on a server side and we see how the workflow is going. Looks good so far, right? Okay, so this is the question which we have asked. What was the question? What was the API latency for the payment service in last 5 minutes? Build a Flux query. This is the Flux query. This looks good. Okay, so it's the first attempt. It's not getting the data. In the second attempt, we got some data, right? So we have 60 entries. And now it seems like once the data is there, then it just, okay. So now we can see the contextualized data as well. So these are the data points which we have used to send it to the LLM. So basically, along with the question, these data points are actually being fed in the large language model. And based on the provided context, the API latency for the payment service in the last 5 minutes, approximately at this range from 62.9 to 146.45. Right? So this is what it can capture and give it to us. So right now, let's just change this to last hour. Let's ask this question. Okay. Let's see what kind of data we have. Check. Last 5 minutes. Fancy is happening. But seems like we got something here. Okay. Yes, based on the provided time series data for API latency on the payment service process endpoint, there were multiple periods within a last hour where latency values is significantly higher, indicating a spike. For example, latency values consistently in the range of 400 to 600 during periods of this. So we can see all those spikes. So it's very, very powerful. And whatever question you want to ask, you can just write your question in a simple English text and you can just get the response. So isn't it a very powerful application now? It's very intelligent. And this is just a one simple use case which I integrated. Now you can just think about your complicated use case and you can use the same flow and you can just build any kind of powerful monitoring application through which you can monitor your system, your services, whatever you want. You can just monitor and ask any intelligent question way beyond, way before when it actually happens and gives you the hard time in the production environment. So that's it from my side for this video. And if you really like this video, give a thumbs up. And if you feel this kind of video can help your friends, colleagues, and groups, please feel free to share with them. And if you haven't subscribed for my channel, please subscribe for my channel as well. And thanks for watching this. And as always, stay healthy and keep learning new things.